Public theater is the most democratic theater in America. Democracy is at the basis of it. We believe that the audience for theater has to be as diverse and egalitarian as possible, which is why we do free Shakespeare in the Park. It's free. You can't get cheaper than that. And that changes the nature of the audience. Next year at the Public, we're going to be recommitting ourselves to Shakespeare in a very serious fashion. We're going to be doing 3 Shakespeare plays, not in rep, but 3 Shakespeare plays as a festival over the course of the fall. Together, we're going to have just an explosion of Shakespeare activity at the Public that I think is going to demonstrate the breadth and quality of the work that we can do with the greatest writer in the English language. Sam Waterston is an actor who has been intimately linked to the Public for over 40 years. He's a brilliant American actor. He's a brilliant American Shakespearean. And although we've gotten to know him intimately over the last generation from Law and Order, he remains a Shakespearean at heart. Sam is a human Lear. He's a Lear who we admire, and so his fall is all the more terrible. I think this is going to be a performance that people will be talking about for decades. Love's Labour's Lost is an early play by Shakespeare, and it's about 4 young men who decide to retreat from the world, to give up women, to give up romance, to give up partying, to give up liquor, so they can devote themselves to contemplation and study. This is a plan that does not go well. It fails completely. It's a gorgeous early Shakespeare, and Karin, Coonrod, one of our most imaginative directors, is taking the helm of this Public Lab production. Titus Andronicus is a very early Shakespeare tragedy. It's very rarely seen. It is theatrical, it is violent, it is provocative, it is at times so extreme as to be almost grand guignol. We are unbelievably happy that J.O. Saunders is going to be playing Titus for us here at the Public. He's an amazing American Shakespearean actor, larger than life, full of passion, full of humor, full of heartbreak, and Titus is his chance to not only play one of the great roles in Shakespeare, but I think introduce an awful lot of people to a Shakespeare play they don't know. Last year, Richard Nelson brought us That Hopey-Changey Thing in the Public Lab. In that play, he created the Apple family, a family that was centered in Rhinebeck, New York, and I'm happy to say that Richard is bringing the Apple family back. This time, the new play, Sweet and Sad, will be opening on September 11th, on the 10th anniversary of September 11th, 2001, and, as in the previous play, it'll take place on September 11th, 2011. This is a wonderful continuation of a really exciting theatrical project, the attempt to capture on stage the way we live right now, at this moment. For years now, Mike Daisey has been one of our greatest storytellers. The Last Cargo Cult, If You See Something, Say Something, Great Men of Genius. This show, The Agony and Ecstasy of Steve Jobs, is, I think, Mike Daisey's masterpiece. It's literally a meditation on electronics, a meditation on a man of genius, Steve Jobs, and a muckraking investigative journalist piece about child labor practices in China. Mike is one of our great storytellers, he's one of our great truth tellers, and I couldn't be prouder than to be presenting this show in New York. Nathan Englander is one of our most brilliant short story writers and novelists, and we're lucky enough to have been able over the last 2 years to work with Nathan, and we'll be presenting the world premiere of his first play, The 27th Man. It's going to be not just a theatrical highlight, it's going to be a literary highlight of the next year. The 27th Man takes place in the Soviet Union in the last days of Stalin's reign, and it's based on a real historical incident. This play takes place in a prison cell among the Jewish writers who have been rounded up by Stalin. Ultimately, what comes out of it is both tragic, but really a transcendent affirmation of the power of art and the power of identity to live beyond the grave. In 2007, we introduced to the theatrical world this extraordinary ballistic force, Stu, a singer, songwriter, performer, writer. Like Passing Strange, The Total Bent is an off-center examination of black artistry in America. It's a beautiful, complicated piece that I think is going to find a real resonance with our audience here. In 1940, the most amazing menagerie of house guests assembled living at 6 Middock Street that is imaginable. W.H. Auden, the poet, Benjamin Britten, the composer, Peter Pears, the famous tenor, Gypsy Rose Lee, the stripper, Carson McCullers, the novelist and playwright, all gathered together in this house, which was dubbed Februari House, to live and work together. Gabe Kahane, the composer, and Seth Bockley, the book writer, have written a musical about this. It is both entertaining, and yet it's about one of the most serious things that there is, which is how do we live in the face of a world which is tumbling towards catastrophic collisions and combats. David Henry Wong has been associated with the Public Theater since the very beginning of his career, and his new play, Chinglish, is, I think, his most accessible, his most dynamic, his funniest play to date. Chinglish is set in China. It's about an American businessman who goes to China to resuscitate his career. It is both entertaining, it's unbelievably funny, but it's also probably the deepest exploration of America's contemporary relationship to China that I've seen on stage. We believe that this is a theater that should be part of the ongoing civic dialogue, that should talk about the big issues of our time, and that art, that theater, has something to bring to that conversation that can't be gotten any other way.